Hey everybody, welcome to brand new episode of Whiskey Sour Libations and Conversations. Welcome back. Last week we had a week off. I needed a moment to breathe because life should be lifing. But I just want to give y'all a couple of church announcements before we get this show on the road. Slide Jewels. For 30% off your first purchase, slidejewels.com using code St. Angeles. The jewelry is like amazing. I have on the little necklace today. I had a bracelet on earlier, but I forgot to put it back on. I get so many compliments on my jewelry from Slide Jewels. So be sure to use the code at checkout. They have amazing pieces. They have stuff for men as well. Get your girl something cute. Get yourself something cute, and increase, like make a dope, accessories wardrobe. This is something that I'm really, really getting into because I really just be wearing hoops and let everything speak for itself. But I like a nice statement piece. So be sure to use code St. Angeles. That's SAINTANGLES at checkout at slidejewels.com on your to get 30% off your first purchase. Also, we still have candles. Don't forget to buy some candles, y'all. Y'all know your house smelling a little funky this summer. So, saint-angeles.com/candles and you get your candle fix. We got wax melts now. We getting it all. I'm about to create the scrub for you ashy hoes. Okay, I'm just playing, y'all. It's Sunday. I'm gonna be nice. It'll be Monday by the time that this drop. But I want to welcome our guest. She is a real estate agent. She knows the ins and outs of the industry right now, the market, what's happening, what you should and should not do. So I'm here to be educated, and I hope this is useful to, somebody out there, because we all want to own a house one day, right? Like, I think that's the goal. To own generational wealth. Don't sell Big Mama's house, okay? So welcome to the stage, Miss Kendra. Hey,
Hey,
boo, how are you this morning?
hey, I'm good. I'm good. I'm having some pancakes, good breakfast.
And you didn't invite me over, and I live around the corner.
Well, the baby ate the rest of them, so I'm gonna blame it on. I just
Carter is
under the bus
all
he
of a
goes.
baby
Okay,
who should not be eating pancakes, okay?
look,
I'm
when I
jealous.
say he devoured them and then ate some yogurt and then had some milk and now he's asleep.
Okay, well, I guess in Carter's defense, he was hungrier than I
He
was.
was. He don't
This
play about his food at all,
this is breakfast,
just
so
like his mama.
I don't play about my food, but I also don't like to play about my kitchen. And currently, I'm being played with my kitchen because I don't have a faucet. All I have is a
Huh?
sprayer. Kendra, if I knew,
Wait, so there
Kendra,
is water.
Kendra, please check out
I
my
have a
reel.
question.
Yes,
I need to go to Instagram.
ma'am, Kendra. Okay, I was having super cool before we get serious. Well, not serious, but to the business.
Yeah.
My faucet, I've been in my apartment for a long time. I
Hmm.
don't like moving. The thought of it makes me very anxious. So I
Yeah.
like to find something and stay put for a long time. We didn't move around a lot as kids either.
Okay.
Actually, we only moved once, and my mom bought the house next to our grandpa's house. And we moved from the two-family flat upstairs to the house next door. That was the one time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I
So,
only moved once when I was young. Now that I think about it, I only moved when I was 5. That was the only time. But
when we
now I move
moved,
all the time.
you do?
I've literally moved every year since I went to undergrad. Like every calendar year, I have moved somewhere.
Ma'am, I can't. I can't.
It's
I'm
crazy.
stressed out for you.
That
I'm
was
stressed out.
like 15 years ago.
Kendra, it costs so much money to just move.
I don't know. It's like either like in undergrad, I was moving to different dorms, and then I moved back home. Then I moved to LA. Then I moved to Chicago. I moved around Chicago, moved back to LA, and I moved 3 times since I've been here in 3 years.
Kendra, the
Yeah, and
renters
I'm ready to
market isn't
go.
even.
I'm
even
ready to go
setting up for
again.
that. You about to move
Uh-huh.
again?
I want to. I don't know.
You got some damn ADD.
It's something. I don't know.
I don't understand how y'all do that. I I am about finding a spot, making it my own, and chilling
Hmm.
for a moment. Like I've been here since 2012.
Wow, really?
Yes, 2012. Also not moving. My rent is
Oh
cheap for
my
LA,
god.
inexpensive. So I got a 2 bed, 1 bath, 1440.
Hmm. Wait, what?
Yeah, you heard me.
No, no, no. Say it again.
1440, 2 bed, 1 bath. You also, I don't have amenities like everybody else.
I
Like,
don't care. I don't need
that's
that. I don't need none of
yeah.
that.
I For that, I'm like, who got a pool? So I'm gonna come to
What?
your house. I will gladly go to Fan and Tahir's. I done been to Sydney pool. My brother
14.
was here for like a month. They had a pool, so I was in Studio City.
That wow.
Yeah,
Like when I was here in 2013, my two bedroom in Pasadena was 1650. Or no, yeah, 1650.
I can see that.
That is insane.
Yeah,
So do you
but
know
then you have situations like this where, yo, they're
fuck
supposed to
that.
replace the faucet.
14? Look, I would just be walking around. I hate this place, but 14, 14, 14. What is 1450 you said?
1440. I love
Like,
my place. Like I'm making it my own. Like
yeah,
my cousin used to live here, so she moved out like last year, and I'm really have finally gotten in the headspace to like decorate and change stuff
yeah.
around. So, like the walls were gray, they're stark white. I like
Hmm.
brightened it up. Like it looks like a little like apartment, like a little New York apartment. Like
Yeah.
so,
That's what I don't do and I want to do more of. Like I don't really have an eye for like decorating. And I move so much and the space has changed, so that probably has something to do with it. But I want to be in a space where I can just like put stuff on the walls and like decorate. I'm gonna get there,
that's probably why your ass keep moving because you
probably. So I'm
yeah,
like, I don't like
you
this.
probably need to like put your touch on it. But
Yeah.
I have a sister that is does interior design, interior
Mm.
architectural design. So that helps out a lot. Like she did the shelf behind me and made it.
Yeah, I love that.
And then my gallery wall, my girlfriend that lives a block over came over and she helped me hang all of this stuff in my house. So it's
Mhm.
perfect. So now I just have to do, like my gallery wall in my hallway, but that's it.
Mhm.
I'm like, hang this photo. My friend took these shots of me. And so I have like four
Cute.
different
That is
shots that he's
dope.
taken. And so I'm gonna hang those because
Yeah.
I'll probably eventually, somebody can call me cocky or arrogant. I will eventually change all this out to like photos of myself because
Why
I'm
not?
good at it. And it's
Why?
my
I mean,
house. They don't pay my rent. But yeah, girl. So my faucet was broken. It was squirting water out, and then he replaced it, and he didn't do a good job. So then I was like, "Hey, it's rust coming out my wall. You didn't sit. Oh, Kendra, it's been a shit show.
oh my
Something is
gosh.
leaking under the sink." And then he was like, "Oh, I'm getting one of the faucets where you could pour the like, the little faucet part down
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
to your
yeah.
sprayer."
The
I'm
thingy.
like, "Great. Never had a sprayer since I've been in this apartment.
Mhm.
Perfect." Girl, he gave me an
Now you
induction.
you got a sprayer.
I
That's
got a
it.
sprayer. I got a sprayer all right and no faucet. Got to stand back. It's like you got to be super calculated to use it, or it's like you taking a shower.
Oh, it's the one that come out fast, like the
It
hard.
comes out hard and it's huge. It's literally the one that they use in restaurants.
Ah, where
I
did you
went
get this
downstairs
from?
to get the assistant, like like our property manager.
Mhm.
I said, Natasha, I need you. I was like, before you get settled, can you come upstairs? She's like, okay. And she said, what the fuck is this? Man, she said she's like, he ordered two of these. I said, I don't know what other apartment has, but they
Ooh.
don't have a faucet either.
Look, he didn't order that. Somebody had them, and he was like, I just need a faucet." And it was like, "Look, I can give these to you. The water will come out." He got that from somebody he know. He didn't get that from Home Depot.
girl.
Mm-mm.
Then I'm even more upset because the office is closed because of COVID protocols. So I
Look,
had this. This is day five.
look,
Day five. I came
like,
to Kendra. My blinds was open in the kitchen, and I keep like my blinds closed, especially if I'm not
mm-hmm,
here.
mm-hmm.
I parked in my carport. I said, "What the hell is that?" Like I could see it from the carport,
Well, the faucet,
sis.
but 1440. So
When
here we
I
are.
tell you the things that happened to me, and I told my homeboy, I said, here's God knows who He calls on to be the
Mm-hmm.
butt of His job. I could be the angelly gesture. Like I'm okay with that because it's always stuff that's just like
Just like the
could be
smallest
worse,
thing.
but oh my God, I know
Right,
you're laughing. Like
right.
you have
He's
so
like, but you got water,
yeah.
but
He's like, you
it's
got
just gonna come out
water,
like this.
girl. So I'm like tempted if I don't if they're gonna be close a couple more days, I'm kind of just saying like, hey, I'm gonna hit up because I have the regionals contact because that was a whole other issue. It's a bitch in the office,
Mm,
and we trying to get him out. But I'm gonna send him an email and say, hey, this is what's going on. I,
right.
is it? I'm gonna have to replace it because I don't know when the office is gonna be open. I've been inconvenienced, so however
It's
much
gonna come
I
out your rent.
yeah, I'm gonna, take it out my rent.
Hmm.
So they got a couple more
That
days.
is so funny because it's one of them problems. Like it's just one of them little annoying ones that you even forget about. So you have to fill up like a cup of water or a bowl, and you just like shit.
Girl, you should
Spray.
you have to see the real because it's that much of a mess.
Ah,
Because you really have to be like even if you squeeze it just slightly, I can't make this shit up. Like I am destined to be some
ah.
form of like I need an agent. Like
That
and
is
to tell
so
stories.
funny.
Tell stories, whether it be dating, the ins and
Right.
outs of like working at my like 9 to 5, like or
Hmm.
encounters that I have with people. Like yesterday, I could give you a whole story about what happened solely at Nordstrom because it was that terrible. It
What
was
did Paris
that
say the other day? It's a whole story.
it's a
What be going on?
girl, my life be that chaotic. Like, or people do things that are chaotic to me. I don't think I attract it because I went to shop to kind of like decompress. Like that's my therapy. And so my
Hmm.
homegirl met me at Century City. I went and bought my
Hmm.
Ivy Park. Um,
Okay.
and
You
I'm
didn't get trampled? It wasn't a million people?
oh no, baby.
Oh wow. Okay.
Because technically the drop happened Thursday.
Mm.
So if their store was crazy then, I missed it. I just went yesterday and I knew the two pieces that I wanted to like
Hmm.
try on because last time my package didn't come. So
Just like at all?
no, it didn't come. It kept saying it's going to be delayed. And then they also told me that
Wow.
my refund could take up to 3 months for me to receive. And I said,
But y'all took that debit immediately.
immediately. And I was explaining
Come
to her,
on, babe.
I'm like, I work in operations at my company. It doesn't take up to 3 months.
Right.
There's something I said,
No.
what billing system do you use? That's just unheard of. So
Hmm.
I'm like, do y'all not have money in the account? Y'all waiting for something to clear?
Wait for
Because I
something
know
else
how
to
all
come
of that works.
through so that they can send yours.
Baby, I all I know is that I was about to act a fool up in Adidas. But I got what I wanted and I feel
It's
great.
cute.
Thank you. And I got the matching skirt and it's sheer, so I'm gonna probably shoot some content
Ooh.
today. But I want to talk to you about the real estate market.
Yes.
I would like to know, I'm a novice. I think about owning something one day, whether it be in St. Louis. LA gets kind of tricky. I know that there are people that feel like they can't afford what's out here. So you have people moving
Hmm.
out
Hmm.
of the city, a city kind of more into the valley areas or outside of LA, just in general, LA County.
Yeah.
So as someone that's kind of been introduced to the market and trying to prepare myself for those next steps, because I'm not moving here. You heard the price.
Look,
I'm not moving here until
until it's worth
I'm moving in with a Negro and we are procreating and we buying
it.
stuff, whatever the next steps are,
Right.
based on my career. Like I want to save, and because I want to be able to also buy a house and decorate at the same time.
Exactly. Right. And I move in and just be like, well, here
This
we
is
are.
it. I can decorate
Right.
one room. So, what are some like steps that I should be taking, and anybody that's listening wanting to take the next steps, and regardless of where you are, what should we
hmm
be doing to prepare ourselves to enter the market?
So one is before even like I'm gonna talk about mentally preparing first. Um, and the first thing is don't look at the headlines. Just like it's like anything else.
Yeah.
Like headlines are just gonna be there to make you click on it, there to scare you, all of that. Don't look at the headlines. Either actually read the article itself in its entirety or talk to a real estate professional that actually knows what's going on.
Okay.
Because they're there to scare you. They're there to just like it's ridiculous. We just like anything else. The headlines are always not the whole story. So that's the first thing, and just like mentally preparing. Again, talk to a real estate agent to understand like what's going on in your market overall right now. Things are kind of slowing down, but it's not. We're not falling off a cliff. We're not about to fall into a 2008. We are in or going into a recession, depending on your perspective. But the housing market is not about to fall off a cliff like it did in 2008. It's very different for a few different reasons that we can talk about later. But one is understanding that. Two is talking to a professional. Three, what's the first thing I always have my clients do is talk to a lender.
Okay.
And that can even be intimidating too, because you feel like, okay, I'm talking to a lender, like I gotta have everything put together. I gotta be ready to send them bank statements and credit reports and all this other stuff, and you don't. A good lender will really sit down with you and ask you questions, let you ask them questions to understand just based on the conversation where you are. They'll ask you about these things. So credit and cash and your job, how long you've been there, how much you make, stuff like that. And that'll give them an idea of like, okay, you can probably qualify for this. Here are the different options of loans. Just explaining like the types of loans, conventional and FHA and fixed rate, adjustable rate, all those things, just to understand it before you like about to submit an offer.
Okay.
Um, the good lender will also help you put a plan together. So if you're like, okay, I been on my job for like 2 months, well, you probably need to be on your job at least a year or two more, save X amount of money. Um, they'll help you understand how much you need to save because a lot of people think, I think I saw a poll maybe earlier this year that people think you need to save like 20, 30, 40%, and you don't.
Okay.
20% maybe. Um, FHA is 3.5% down, depending on your credit and other things. Conventional, you can get as low as 3% down. So it's really a range. But until you talk to somebody, you don't really know what that's going to look like for you.
Okay.
So that's the first step for any of my clients. Talk to the lender, just have a conversation, start the conversation so you know where you need to go. And what that will eliminate is you just waiting to save as prices are going up and then or interest rates are going up and then you saved all this money, but you've waited so long that you're really not saving anything because now it's more expensive to buy.
Right. Okay.
So I would say those are the first, what did I say, three things? Don't look at
Hmm.
the headlines, talk to a real estate professional, and talk to a lender.
Okay. So as far as like interest rates, does
hmm
that depend on just like okay your credit and what you have, uh, and is that something that you could probably negotiate down maybe?
It does depend on credit. It depends on your whole loan package, what your interest rate's gonna be. Interest rate can be affected by the type of loan. So conventional, where you're putting down probably 10, 15, 20%, that interest rate is typically lower than FHA, where you're putting down 3.5, just
Okay.
because when you think about it from an investor's perspective, so any loan, a mortgage, the lender is going to sell it to an investor. So
Okay.
that investor, thinking about it from their point of view, if I'm buying a loan or mortgage that the buyer on the other side put down 3.5%, they're more risky than a buyer that put down 15, 20%. So your interest rate is going to be higher.
So similar to like a car. So like I
Yeah.
put down 5 on my
Yeah.
car. Okay. So that and that's
Hmm.
okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. Makes sense. I get that.
Some other things that affected external factors are the Fed, the economy. Um, the lender can change interest rates.
Okay.
So all of those things are going to affect it, but you can change it. You can what's called buy it down. So you
Mm,
can pay more on the front end when you're buying the home to buy down the interest rate and save money later.
okay. Okay. So let's say um like I might not have certain qualifying factors. And I know that there are certain programs that can also help like NACA. So
Hmm.
what what advice would you give to a person that might have to go that route?
For someone who has to go like the NACA route or some of the other programs, I would say start early. I've had one for sure go through NACA. I'm trying to think if there was somebody else. And it's a process because you
Okay.
have to go through classes. I don't know all the requirements, but it's like you got to go through a few different steps. It's a great program. It just takes some time. Like you got to really be dedicated to the process to get the benefit on the back end.
Okay.
Um, but even with the other, I know California, I think it's Housing HFA, I think it is,
Hmm.
has a first time buyer program. Those kind of programs you can get through the lender. They'll have information on those.
Okay.
And they're a little more quick. They're really based on income, and I don't know if they have a max on the amount you can purchase or the amount of the home, but I know there's a max as far as income.
Okay. Okay. Because I think
Hmm.
I always like I think what's intimidating to me and a lot of people out here is just that we know the cost of living is so expensive, but we don't get as like there was a house literally a block away. It's on the same street as my friends, and I went to see it because I'll be on Zillow.
Hmm. Girl, Zillow got everybody in a chokehold, as the kids
Girl,
say.
girl, and so you just it was the sticker price was $1 million, and I'm right here. I'm not like I said, I'm not far from you,
Hmm.
but it's like I feel like the house was like the square footage of my apartment. And I get
Hmm.
it. Oh, and so I get in these spaces like, oh my gosh, like for $1 million, I'm buying like the square footage of my apartment. Like, what are where should we be looking? Like where like and I know it depends on what you want. Like and I love this area. So I don't want to necessarily move out of this area even when I go to
Yeah.
buy because I just feel so safe. And I feel like you can walk. Now, have there
Mm.
been weirdos since these hipsters been moving in? Absolutely. But
Girl, they everywhere.
everywhere. No, it's been some
Hmm.
weird shit happening. And I'm just like, Monica, like, hey, yo, like, make sure, because she doesn't have a parking spot. To my homegirl, I was like,
Hmm.
be alert when you walking in, like, your house, just because I've been
Yeah,
seeing, like, weird stuff in the neighborhood. But for the most part, we're really good. Like, the stuff that
that's
we
good.
see on, the Nextdoor app or whatever, or the Citizen apps,
Girl,
be funny. It's funny stuff. Like, it's never anything really serious.
people
So,
be
people be wild,
like just bored. Just
bored.
bored.
And so, I think for me it's like okay what we talked about kind of like the game plan like the 3 steps that we I should be taking advantage of and thinking about and the do's and the
Hmm.
don'ts, but okay, as I want to enter, okay, what would be the next first, like what would be that we got, what would you say the prerequisite, we would say those first 2
Hmm.
steps you gave me were the
Hmm.
prerequisite. Now
So
We're
now you're ready
instantly,
to search.
I'm
Yeah.
ready to search. What should I do?
I think so. LA is hard because
Don't make me
a
feel
lot of
defeated
the,
on this morning.
okay, it's gonna start out dark, but then it'll get better.
Okay.
Because like we have to realize like it is hard here because
Yeah.
a lot of the places, the reason is a lot of the places that we have rented for so long
Mm-hmm.
are where people want to be. Because of that, demand is high, the prices are high. So when you go to buy, it's a totally different story a lot of times.
Okay.
And so what that means for us is that we just have to think outside the box
Okay.
geographically, when it comes to our mortgages and what the loan looks like. Being, and that's again going back, the lender is so important because they can help you strategize short term and an agent too, short term and long term, how to set up your mortgage and all of that. But geographically, for sure, um, we may not get the HGTV pretty thing, which again, that's what our apartments look like. They're nice, minus the sprayers here and there. They're nice. And we got like they have everything we want, but the trade-off is when you go to buy, either you buying something that's completely done and you're buying the property, but you're also paying for the person that did that renovation and
Yes.
their profit. Or you buy something that's not done yet. Maybe it needs like, depending on your comfortability level with rehab and stuff like that, maybe you want something that has good bones, like updated electrical, and plumbing and all that stuff, but the cosmetic updates haven't been done. So now
Mhm.
you can do those things over time, but you're doing them versus paying somebody else to have done them already.
Right.
Um, so that's the biggest thing in just like managing expectations when you go see places, because we've seen HGTV, we see the stuff on Zillow that just looks amazing, and they are going to be $1 million because somebody went in there and put in $150,000 worth of work. They put in 6 months of time,
Yeah.
and now it's worth it. Whereas we can go in, um, before all that stuff is done, maybe we paying, I don't know, 750, and then we can do those updates over time, which in the long run helps you because you're doing the update, so you're raising the value, you're paying down the mortgage, so your what you owe on the place is going down, and as time goes on, real estate in the long run goes up and up and up.
Okay.
So when you get to 3, 5 years down the line, the value's increased, your loan balance has decreased, so now you got a nice chunk of equity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because so it just, so when it really comes down to that, it's like, okay, how much time do you have to really, really invest to kind of, HGTV term, flip this home?
Yeah,
Like
flip it
you're
while you live
making
there.
it. And so, and that's something that my mom is currently doing in St. Louis.
Mm.
Same zip code, not even a half a mile away, but
Wow.
it's been a struggle. And we think about, especially COVID has happened, so there's been a delay
It
with
makes it so
materials, like
hard.
everything has been,
Yeah.
and she's been anxious and rushing. I'm like, do not, just let it be.
Yeah.
If they say that this is okay and then you still have minor things to do, then like, then move in. But if it's still a whole bunch of things, I don't do what you did with the house when we moved next door. Like, you just had to be in and
Mm.
never went back and
Wasn't ready.
fully made those renovations. So I
Yeah.
think that's my biggest concern. I also felt like at her big age, I'm like, girl, no, for real, there's certain things I feel like, I think about peace of mind, Kendra, first.
Yeah.
Like some people, if you have that, I would, I am so tired. And I told her, I said, I'm tired talking about that house. You got to call me
Oh,
about something
mama.
else, man. I love you. Listen, it got to the point, I was like, hey, I know you turn, you call, talk about your case. I said, no, talk about them no more. I would
Uh,
prefer. But,
it was you're like, can we talk about the house again?
not this week. But it's the patience. You have to have patience
Yeah.
to do
You
stuff
got to
like
be ready
that.
for it.
You
And some
have
people don't, and that's okay, but you're going to pay for it.
you're gonna pay for it. And so, or
Yeah.
I'm saying, hey, like, mom, like, knowing her level of patience or lack thereof, I'm like, you
Mhm.
sure you want to do that? Because you probably should think about moving in something like moving kind of ready,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
something minor where you're like, oh, maybe you have to redo the kitchen, or maybe you
Yeah.
redo the bedroom. But
Not the
this,
whole
she
thing.
had to gut it.
Oh wow.
She
That's a
gutted
lot.
it and then added a room addition. Then had to have a swim spa. Then she wanted to elevate. Oh, girl.
Look.
Listen,
Okay.
Lucretia,
She wanted all the things.
she can have it, baby, because it ain't my
She want
house.
what she want. But that's a good example of like you have to know like where your comfortability level is. And if it's like I don't have time to do any updates, I just want to move and ready, then we have to think out the box in other ways. So then we got to look at geographically.
Okay.
Maybe we going a little bit farther out. Um, you got to look at your must-have list to say like, okay, if I have to have it moving ready, maybe I can deal with like community laundry, or maybe I can deal with um not an attached garage or attached parking or something. Like we just gotta the whole must have list is not gonna be there. Yeah, so you gotta think about stuff like that. The other thing that I actually kind of discovered recently are co-ops. Um and with co-ops, the I don't know a ton about them, but from what I understand, the community is owned by the people that live there,
Okay.
kind of like shares in a company, I think.
Okay. It's girl. This reminds me of an episode of King of the Hill. But yes, there was a co-op. No, 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 no. There was a co-op. There was like you paid like a fee,
Mhm.
and it was a co-op grocery store. So
Hmm.
it was pretty much maybe similar to like a Trader Joe's, but it was like
Mhm.
all this natural, like organic fruits, vegetables.
Hmm. That kind of sounds dope.
And so, but in order to experience, you had to, pay into it, and then you had to
Mhm.
volunteer like so much
Mhm.
uh, to like pour back into it. But
Yeah.
so something maybe it's
It's
that's
kind of like that.
okay.
It's similar to an HOA where you're paying into it every month, but
Okay.
it's owned by the people that live there. It's more like a company, and then you own shares of it, something like that.
Okay.
But they're typically cheaper.
Okay.
Also, the big difference is that with the co-op, you have to interview with the co-op board to be allowed to buy in it.
So okay,
Um,
yeah. That would
and
make sense.
I've seen a few
Also,
that are kind of like hard to get in for whatever reason,
just keep thinking about this.
potentially. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. But
I
again, they're a lot of times cheaper. Um, there's some in North Hollywood actually. I have a friend who's working
really
with somebody in North Hollywood that's buying one, and oh, something else about them. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, sometimes they're a better option to be on the cheaper side if you can get in.
yeah.
And everyone is going to be different. But yeah, they're another option too.
I just so like I guess what I want to say is or ask is okay, so what does that look like even in LA, like when we think about like you saying how hard it is, like, and I think about taxes because we pay personal property tax.
Hmm.
Personal property tax is cars, so you pay the
You pay
tax,
property tax.
the
Yeah,
property
it's
tax.
about 1% of the value of the home.
So if I buy a multi-million-dollar home,
I mean, you pay for it monthly, and it's impounded with it's lumped into the mortgage. But
okay,
yeah, yeah, it's in there.
okay, I'm gonna say something. This is why I need to be kept. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like being kept looks is looking more and more pleasing to the eye, man.
I
Like,
will say this though, it's the hardest. A place like LA is hard to get in, and
yeah,
that's why you got to look at the home buyer programs. That's why it may not be in the neighborhood that you would love it to be in. It may not be in the condition that you would love it to be in. But once you get in, So like, let's say you get in on a place that's like 500,000, right? And you put down 10%, so you didn't put down 50,000. So now your mortgage amount is 450, and then 3 to 5 years later, you didn't pay down the mortgage to like, I don't know, just for sake of numbers, let's say 400,000, and
Mm-hmm.
your value, you put the work into it, the value of the place is now, let's say 700,000. Now you got the difference between 400,000 and 700,000. You got $300,000 worth of equity.
Okay.
You can go and buy the $1 million house now
Oh
just from
wow.
selling your old one. So once you get in
Okay.
here, that's when the game changes. But it can be very difficult to get in here. Um, and probably 90-95% of my clients are first time buyers, and that's the hardest because it feels impossible. So you kind of walk in
Yeah.
feeling a little bit defeated. It's a it can be a difficult process. So it's a lot of like, that's where they lean on me to understand, like, okay, this may feel kind of weird. I feel like I'm signing my life away. I feel like I'm just, when you go to closing and you bring that $50,000, $70,000 check, like, all right, I wired it. Did it get there? Did somebody scam me? Like, it just feels so big because it is. It's one of the biggest purchases that you'll ever make.
Yeah.
But
The biggest purchase I ever
having,
did was a couch.
you
I don't like it.
don't like it?
Girl, I'm about to get another couch. That was like the one I wanted. Then I went and bought a new car. But I
You
was
can't
like,
renovate no couch.
look, I'm like, look, couches be expensive.
Yeah, they do.
Couches
They
be
do.
expensive for you not to like a couch.
But you
Uh,
can sell that a little bit easier than a house. Um, but again, it's like once you get in there
yeah,
and you get over that hump and you can sell it, you can keep it for income property, whatever. That's where the true wealth is unlocked once you get in that first time.
okay. I am going to read. You did a post yesterday because I kind of want to talk about renting versus buying.
Hmm.
You said the interest. Well, you didn't say it, but the post
The
says.
post said.
I'm not gonna say you said it. The interest rate on rent is 100%. Remember that when you hear rates at 5%, 6 and 7%. Can
Yeah.
you like explain that a little bit and break that down, like owning versus renting, um,
Yeah.
and what that looks like, or like I understand why I'm the type of person. I like that situation. Hey, I pay rent. There's certain things that happen, and I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
I pay rent, and so they got to handle it. That's a part of the
Yeah.
contract. So could we kind of talk numbers and equity value? What why it's kind of more beneficial to own versus renting,
Hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the context behind that post was the past, what, 2.5 years, interest rates have been the lowest they have ever been. They were down to like 2 and 3%, because of COVID, because people completely stopped,
Okay.
and the Fed was like, okay, we got to lower interest rates to get people buying again. And then people bought like crazy. So they wanted to
So
slow that
it was
down.
a buyer's market.
A seller's market,
A seller's market.
because
That's what I thought it was, a seller's market. Okay.
yeah,
Somebody's
because there
like,
weren't enough.
it's a buyer's market. I'm like, no, people are selling though. I'm confused.
No, the
Okay.
sellers, like, there weren't enough homes on the market. The interest rates were crazy low, so a bunch of buyers were going after everything. Like,
Okay.
it was ridiculous. And so they started increasing the interest rate this year, starting like January, to try to slow that down. So now, the last time I looked, we were at about like 5.3. And
Okay.
so people that maybe had been looking in like January, February when they were 2 and 3%, now they're like, oh my gosh, it's so much higher, blah, blah, blah. Not even realizing that this is where we were before the pandemic. This is where we were in 2019. The extreme example is like years ago, interest rates were like 12%. And people were like, well, back then, like they were 12. So now it's much better. It's like, it's kind of not realistic because that was like 20 years ago. But what is realistic is 2019, this is around where we were. So if you take out this anomaly of like 2.5 years, we're not in a bad spot.
Okay.
Um, So that's like the context behind it. Then when you think about renting versus buying, when you're renting, you're paying somebody else's mortgage. So the thought is that interest is the price you're paying to borrow the money. So interest
Okay.
is kind of like thrown away because it's not, the principal is what really goes toward bringing down your mortgage amount. So the principal is what the important piece that's going to build the equity. The interest is what is the price you pay. So that's the correlation between it saying the interest on renting is 100% because this is the price you're paying to live here. It's
Okay.
not going towards any equity. It's not building anything. It's just the price you pay. So that was the context behind the post, and it
Okay.
was just kind of putting things in perspective of saying we're not. If you look at 2022 versus 2021, yes, interest rates have skyrocketed. But if
Hmm.
you look at the last time that things were normal, they're not. Yeah.
You froze there. What was the last thing you said?
Oh, I said if you looking at 2022 versus the last time that things were quote unquote normal, they have not skyrocketed.
Okay. But like it goes back to what you said, like the headlines, and people really taking a moment
Mm-hmm.
to break them down, really read. Our whole system over here on the U.S. side, pretty much anywhere is built on, like you said, scare tactics. How
Oh
can
yeah.
keep people, like in a frenzy,
In
pretty
a
much.
frenzy, yeah.
Survive
They
off.
tried to scare people. The other thing I've been seeing is with prices. They're like, oh, prices have plunged and the real estate market the bubble is about to burst and things are just about to go off the deep end. And again, so I was thinking about this earlier. I have not said it out loud, so I hope this makes sense. Um, but if you think about prices, for the last 2.5 years, they have been just going up like crazy.
Okay.
20% year over year, like just ridiculous. And so around April, Mayish, everything just changed. Instead of prices were still going up, but not as fast as they were before.
Uh-huh.
And so we started to see more price decreases. You started to see more homes sitting on the market for longer periods of time. Like before, if the home's on the market for a week, we was like, what's wrong with it? What happened?
Right.
Now you see in places sit for like 2, 3 weeks, a month. Um, you're seeing again the biggest thing was price decreases, things going into escrow under the list price. And so that just triggered the headlines of like prices are going down, price decreases, blah, blah, blah. But if you think about it, what happened was as a seller, some sellers got a little bit greedy. So if I'm in a neighborhood and I'm seeing, oh, that house across the street when it's escrow $300,000 over list price, the greedy seller is saying, now I can go list my house. So I'm gonna give you numbers. Let's say it was listed for, let's say 500,000. The
Hmm.
house across the street went into escrow for 800,000 because it was a frenzy. Now I'm selling mine across the street, so the greedy seller is saying I'm gonna list my house for 950
Mm.
because all the 10 offers that were on the other house, nine of those buyers are still looking. They got 800,000. The market's going crazy. I'm gonna list for 950. They did it too late after that shift, and now you didn't set on the market at 950 for a month. Now they're coming down in price to something more reasonable. So
Okay.
I'm decreasing my price by 50,000 to 900 or something like that. Yes, it's a price decrease, but what those headlines aren't telling you is the context behind it. And it was that seller being unreasonable. It was the agent not advising them properly. A lot of agents are just trying to get the listing, so they telling the sellers whatever they want to hear and
Mm.
pricing stuff too high. Then you have to bring it down to where the market is. And that's what's happening, which is it takes longer to explain than a headline, but that's what's happening. It's not necessarily prices are falling drastically.
Right.
It's it's a correction. It's getting back to normal, not we falling off a cliff.
It's like so many different things that go into it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I even think about like where I'm from. I don't. Where are you from again, Kendall?
Kansas City, down the
I
street.
live down the street.
Hmm.
I didn't. How did I not know that? Okay.
I don't
Anyway,
know.
that's a conversation. So you know, like, how, like coming from Missouri, where you from Kansas City, Kansas, or Kansas City, Missouri?
Missouri,
Okay,
Missouri.
the only one
Mm-mm.
that matters.
Mm-mm. Mm-hmm.
Hey. uh, but even okay, so prime example, y'all have what is that part called? It's like, but it's a town that's like one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in the country in Kansas City.
It
Yeah, yeah,
is.
yeah. What is it called? Not North
It's a
Park.
park. Oh, Oak Park,
Oak Park. Oak Park. Oh,
Overland Park.
yeah, Oak Park is one of the wealthiest neighborhoods. It's like in the like
Oh,
I'm not gonna say top
wow.
three, but it's up there. It's a lot of money through there.
I can
So
see that.
I don't know, like where we're from, like St. Louis is kind of going through this. I have a friend. Oh, I have to get him on here, and that would be nice to have you on too. That's kind of going through like this rehabilitation stage. Part of me sometimes feel like maybe St. Louis needs to be a little gentrified because they're just a little too wild west for me out there. Um, there's some people that agree, but like we have this program, like they have, like we have a lot of vacant houses, and so they have
Mhm.
this program where you can literally buy the house for $1, but then
Mhm.
you have to have the equity or the money to, like, you have to
To
show
rehab
for
it.
it to
Yeah.
rehab it in order
Yeah.
to obtain that property. So I think about stuff like that, and we talk about, do you want to spend the time? Because I know people, my sister and her friends were trying to buy a property, a rental property,
Mhm.
but they didn't really, everything that was coming on the market was getting snatched up real fast, even in flood zones. I'm like, and I would even look at the price.
Mhm.
I'm like, this is in a flood zone, and y'all
It was
charging
crazy.
700K in a
Yeah.
flood zone, bro. It was
People didn't care.
People did not care. The market, it was just crazy, and so
Mhm.
I'm thinking, like, are those things, even though it's rare because the market in LA, it is rare that I've seen a
Oh,
vacant
that would
house.
be here.
That would never happen here. Just
I
mainly,
don't think they did it here. Yeah, I don't think it's
they did
enough.
that program here, but I'm saying, like,
Yeah, they
let's
did it
say
in Chicago when I was
if
there.
you bought a house, maybe the house was burned down, maybe it's been sitting for a while.
Mhm.
Um, is that even an option? Do you think that that's something that people should be looking at as well? But I've seen, like I said, Zillow still charging. They started saying it's gonna be arm and leg, but we also know the scam that they did. They went up and bought up a whole bunch of shit.
Oh yeah, yeah, and then got
But
shut down.
and so, do you think that those are maybe properties that people should be looking at if they have the time, like you said,
Yeah.
to really take a moment? Kind of. I mean, I've seen people buy properties. They've torn the entire house down and then built something on top of,
Mhm.
like, the land that's there. So,
Mhm.
what are is that even an option, or it's like, hey, if you have the money to really invest in that, then that could be a route that you go.
It can. So this is where you have so many options. Um, there's the land. It's called the land bank, where they were
Okay.
buying up the properties for $1. But yeah, you have to show them, here's the plan and here's the money that I'm going to use to rehab it. Because if not, it's just going to be vacant again.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's definitely a route. Tax sales are a route. What those are is where people didn't pay their taxes. I think it's 3 to 5 years, maybe it's 5 years that they hadn't paid their taxes and have a bunch of tax liens and stuff like that. The city takes it back and they sell it at an auction. That's an
My
option.
mom has bought property like
Um, yeah. Um, what's the other one? Oh, wholesaling is something that some people do.
that. Wholesaling?
You gotta have an appetite for it. And in some places you can't do it. You can't do wholesaling in Chicago anymore. I think they just stopped it in Atlanta, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
But wholesaling is where you find a property that's off the market. So these people are driving down the street looking for distressed properties. There's ways you can look at because title and all those records are public knowledge or public. You can access them, public knowledge. And so people are going and pulling titles on homes that have had the same owner for like 20, 25 years because we know they're older and maybe it's time for them to get out of that house. And so they go into them with cash. Well, I take it back. They go into the owner and saying, hey, I have an investor that will buy your house cash. Usually it's at a discounted price, but it's cash. And then the wholesaler will get the property into escrow and assign the contract to the investor that's going to actually buy it. And then they make their money by charging that investor for bringing them the deal. So
Okay.
you got to have the appetite, the time, the willingness to do something like that. This is not easy, from my understanding. I couldn't do it.
I've never
Um,
heard of that until today.
yeah,
I know that was a
it's
thing.
a lot. Bird dogging is another one. I can't remember what that is though. I hope that's not what I just said. Wholesale was. I can't remember.
Oh,
Um, I'm like, I don't know. I can't do these things.
okay. So taxes is one thing. So okay.
Hmm.
So since we're there, foreclosures. Like I know that's a list that you could pay for.
Hmm.
And then would you need a agent for to maybe get the foreclosure, or how does that work? Because I know
Um,
I was like, we maybe pull the list of foreclosures out there, so then we can kind of look and see. I'm like,
hmm.
okay, I don't think stuff be getting foreclosed out here because the turnover for stuff out here is so quick.
That's the thing. Here in a lot of places right now, foreclosures and pre-foreclosures aren't as big of a market because people have so much equity now.
Mm,
So even if they couldn't make the payments, they could just sell the house and pay the bank back whatever they owe because the prices have been so high before it went into foreclosure.
okay.
Um, but you can pay for lists. You don't. Ooh, excuse me.
Sheesh.
Hard cider came back. Um, you don't need an agent to do it. Really, the agent's job is there to make sure that each side is protected. You don't have to have an agent, but for a lot of people who are inexperienced in something like this or buying or selling real estate, you really want to work with an agent because you don't know who that person on the other side is. You don't know
Right.
how experienced they are, um, what they might pull. That's one piece. And then you just want to make sure everything is in place. So like you want to make sure there's no cloud on the title, just anything that could pop up,
Okay.
that could just blow everything apart.
Okay. So in closing, like, okay, I wanted to go back to like why it ultimately is important to own a piece of property. Like even if you have like like a rental property and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
especially as Black people, as we talk about creating generational wealth for
Mm-hmm.
our legacies and all of that stuff for our family to come. Why is it so important for us to really sit back and invest and buy our homes instead of constantly renting?
So it's all the stuff we talked about, having the equity, being able to upsize and buy something bigger down the line if you want to, being able to pass down the property to the other generations. Um, but the other side of it that's not talked about as much is the power that comes with owning the property. So what I mean by that is if we own, I mean, who is that? Maybe Jay-Z said it. I don't know the quote, but if you own the block, wait, did you freeze? I thought you were laughing at me. But if you own the block, now we're in the decision making process
Yeah.
because now one is a different mindset when you have ownership of something because what happens around it is more important. So you're more likely to know the alderman, you're more likely to know the city council people and the people that are making the decisions, and now you can influence their decisions
Yeah.
because you own their who they're in service to.
Mm,
um, when we're renting, the owner of that property is the one who has the influence. So again, it's definitely for the other reasons of like building equity and your mortgage doesn't go up if you have a fixed rate mortgage. You don't have to worry about rent increases and rent control and all of that and prices changing. Again, you can pass it down, but what is equally as important is the power and the influence that comes with it. So now we can truly be at the table when these decisions are being made, instead of, being reactive and being on the back end, trying being upset when something happens. We can be in the forefront and influencing those decisions so that it doesn't even get to
I never even thought about it from that perspective. I hate our alderman back and saying
that.
he called up and
What
said,
district?
"That's none of my business." I ain't gonna say too much because I definitely I want to share this with like with my mama with Lucretia. Hey mom. So I didn't really curse too much this episode because I know that she getting my butt about that. But
Right.
I never really thought about it from that perspective because I think about when I think about the trickle down effect. Like now I'm thinking back to even how we got trees in our neighborhood and my grandfather. I guess yeah, Grandma Mary, my step grandma.
Mm.
Was very heavily influential in that, and my grandfather owned
Mm.
our home. And
Mhm.
now on that same street, my mom owns multiple properties. And
That's dope.
certain calls when things started happening, and as our neighborhood started to decrease, like my mom was making those phone calls, like, "Hey, like this is what's up," or "There's this vacant house, like somebody's squatting. Now it's on fire. Y'all gonna tear it
Yeah.
down or
Oh
not?"
shit.
Oh, it's so, so when I think, but it's like also getting those people out, but getting the people.
Yeah.
A lot of people leave our neighborhoods too. Is what do they call it? They used to call it when white people leave. They call it white flight, but there's also
Mhm.
the adverse of that, which is black flight. So now, as those
Oh
white
yeah.
people move out of those neighborhoods, like in the counties, black people tend to move into those spaces, and then
Mhm.
it starts like the cycle all over again. Now, white people are moving back into the city,
Yep.
um, and getting those, different aldermen, councilmen positions, but we really need to hold on to
Mhm.
our properties and what we have. And I know that, yeah, you might be some sort of financial rut, but it's like figure that shit out. Don't let it go.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. We got so much unlearning to do as a culture and
We do.
so
We
much
do.
learning to do because
Mhm.
everything we've been taught for real, Kendra, has been a lie.
Oh,
Son
like
of lies. It's all lies.
it's crazy how much unlearning and just I yeah, that's a whole other hour.
Yeah, we won't talk about. We'll have to talk about one day. And I talked to one of my really good girlfriends about it. About the idea of some people feel like, oh, I feel like they're really trying to make things segregated again. I said, okay, and I said maybe that needs to happen. I said, and I'll tell you why. I said, our culture, I said, we've truly lost our way. We have lost our rabbit ass minds.
Yeah,
I said, so maybe if we really spend time with each other, we can figure out a game plan to make things better for all of us. Because right now, we are
it's
lost.
splintered. Yeah.
We
We
are
segregated within ourselves.
within ourselves, baby.
Mhm.
And it's been like that a long time. What the idea of capitalism, white supremacy, the European stand up, we have to let that go because those are they have a crazy chokehold on us.
Yeah. But you know what I think? I think it's not as much of a racism issue as a classism issue.
Hmm.
And that's where the manipulation comes in.
Yep. A lot
Because
of
it's
our people gatekeep.
oh yeah. And
It's
it's at the classism level though.
yeah. It's really weird because like
Mhm.
if I have a resource for you or I know somebody, if I like I hit you, I said, hey, like my guy might be in the market. So he's like, oh shoot, like when he's ready, like passing on my information, blah 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 blah.
Mhm.
I don't like people coming to people incorrect. So I'm like, don't be just looking. Come when you ready.
Yeah.
But that's just how my mind works. I'm that person that's, you know, I've close friends, like are that are actors or even I have
Mhm.
friends that are writers that are on shows, and I was like, hey, like so and so has an audition for this. Hey, tell them to call me. I actually wrote this episode. This is what we
Oh
look
wow.
to.
That's dope.
That's how my mind works, and I will hope
Yeah.
that it's the same. Like Io and I had she's like, oh, I did that thing for OWN. I gave them
Mhm.
the name. I know that I don't know if they're looking for people anymore, but but I just met y'all. And
Mhm.
that's how also friendships work and relationships when you're building with people.
It should be, yeah.
It's for me, it's not crabs in a barrel. When my
Mhm.
home was looking for, I said, "Hey, I got a person. Now she's really really great. She does have other clients, but here she is. Makes great
Mhm.
food. Here's her page. Here's her information. If you still need somebody." But that's how my mind works, and I think that we get so stuck on it can only be me when it's enough room for
Mhm.
all of us to eat.
Yeah, it's enough for everybody. I think that um my experience in LA has been that this is where that happens more than
Hmm.
other places because everybody is trying to create something.
Yeah,
Like when I lived here before and I worked in corporate and that was it, like I felt like I was the oddball. Like I would be somewhere and people would be like, "Oh, what do you do?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I work in Nestle." And they were like, "But what else?" And I was like, "That's it." And they were just like, "That's all." Like you're not. It was weird that I wasn't creating something. It's like here everybody's trying to create something. So, and I'm sure I've heard the horror stories and the opposite, but my experience has been everybody's just trying to connect you to somebody,
yeah,
and it's really been like that collaborative, let's figure it out. It don't always work out,
right.
but for the most part the willingness has been there with the people that I've been around.
It's funny too because there are some people that love LA just because of the sunshine and the weather, and that's so far from
Like
people.
it
Like,
was crazy. I was like, I don't, what else am I, it happens so much. I will walk away like, what else am I supposed to be doing? Something else? Like I don't know. I just be going to work. Like I don't.
girl, and stay where you are because you're confident in what you're doing, and don't let nobody tell you otherwise. Like, no, for
I
real.
was
Like,
like,
I have
I mean,
friends.
this was back. I was like maybe 25, 26. So I was still just like figuring out life. But I was just like, am I supposed to be doing something else? Like I don't know.
But but also think about that's I would even say I wouldn't even limit that just to LA. I would say
Hmm.
it's that hustle mentality as a whole.
Yeah.
Like, and I get it. We're from, especially being from St. Louis, you can't spell hustle without STL, baby. So a lot of us are getting it out the mud, and there are a lot of
Hmm.
and what I mean by that is it's just I have friends that have literally built their something out of nothing. So that's what I mean. But then we also have this culture, especially now, where everybody's running a rat race. I'm exhausted.
Hmm. Look, I'm tired. I
I am
woke up tired.
tired.
It's
You
not just because of this baby. I'm tired.
and it is and it's like you always have to be doing something. And I'm like,
Hmm.
we don't know what rest looks like. We don't know what peace looks like.
Yeah.
And so we're all just I'm like, hey, there are things that you like to do, like when we would talk the other day, and I was like, think about it as fun. Don't think about it as work.
Hmm.
This is something that
Hmm.
you're trying to turn into monetary value, so have fun with it. Don't think
Yeah.
about it like that. And a lot of the stuff that we do, like I said, I should really just be putting up stories about the stories that happened to me, and maybe
Yeah.
people I genuinely like making people laugh by telling the stories. I don't
Hmm.
necessarily want to be a comedian in that sense, like be on stage. That's a
Like
whole
stand up.
other thing.
Yeah.
But I'm like, yo,
It's something there. I
is
think our generation is the first one that really um understands Lord, and has
you really
like
over there struggling, burpee.
I hope it's not catching in this headphone.
It is,
Um
but it's fine.
well, it happens. But I feel like our generation is the first one that has really been like, okay, let me find the intersection of what I love to do and how to monetize that, and let's go after that. And I love that part of it, but I think in some cases we have gone too far of like not resting and not remembering like this is something I love that I'm just monetizing. Like this should not
Yeah,
take over my life and make me end up hating it.
yeah, and like I said, shout out to my friend CT, who kind of has it down to a
Mhm.
science. Like shooting those couple of days, and this is my day to edit, and then the rest of the week I'm playing my video games and catching up on shows, and
Mhm. You
doing
have
I'll do
to.
a show throughout the week maybe, but that was something that I asked him, like as a person that wants to create, that's creating content that put and not in the capacity because he does a different skits as well.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten there yet, but I think about how can I just make it fun, and like that's why I created Whiskey Sours. It was kind of inspired from To Hear Zooming with the Homies. Like it was
Mm.
like a talk show, and I had two other failed podcasts, but I knew this was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to be
Mhm.
able to have different dialogues with people and have a good time, whether we being ratchet, whether we learning, whether we are inspiring people. That
Yeah.
that's why I created this space, because I'm like, this is a form of therapy for me too. So,
Mhm.
being able to walk away like, oh, today I learned something. Like I don't really have to this is what I should be doing to really think about now at my big age of 35, like those next steps about buying. Because that's what I always told my friend. I said, I'm staying here until it's time,
Until yeah.
because though the rent is high, the rent too cheap. Kendra, tell everybody where they can find you on the social medias.
Yes. So on Instagram, where I live my life, and YouTube kind of. Close with KG. I should have made it my name. I didn't think about it. But it's KLOSE with KG on both of those. And TikTok too. I be TikToking sometimes.
You got a TikTok. Hold on.
Hmm.
Wait, do I follow you? I think I follow
I
you.
don't know.
Maybe.
I don't
Maybe.
know.
And it's the same on TikTok too?
Uh huh.
Okay. Oh, okay. Girl, Chloe Bailey
Look,
has a hold on me.
TikTok will tell on you. Okay.
Okay.
TikTok is like you open me.
I am
Here I
your
am.
friend. I am your friend. Okay. I hate TikTok because you can see who they have it where, oh, this is who looked at your page. And I'm
Really?
like, yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, you know what? I did see that.
Yeah, I'm like, that was a new feature they implemented. I'm like, whoo. But that's just like how
Look.
that'll probably eventually go away, because you remember they used to have, oh, so and so like this on Instagram, and they took it away.
Yeah.
People getting caught up.
That's how
Like,
they get you.
that's how they get you, liking all them butt
Hmm.
pics. Uh, uh, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And don't forget, I will put the codes and links to um, Slide Jewels with the promo code, as well as the candle line. And I will see y'all back here next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye.